The signal from below. Commander Sarah Chen pressed her gloved hand against the ice wall, feeling the subtle vibrations that had haunted her dreams for the past 3 months. The signal was stronger now, a deep rhythmic pulse that seemed to call to something primordial in her bones. Behind her, the excavation team's equipment hummed in the vast chamber they'd carved beneath the Arctic ice, their lights casting long shadows across the crystalline walls. "Commander, you need to see this." Dr. Marcus Rivera's voice crackled through her comm unit. The excitement in his usually steady tone made her pulse quicken. She turned away from the wall, her boots crunching on the frozen ground as she made her way to where her chief scientist stood hunched over a holographic display. The scan results floating above the projector showed something that shouldn't exist. Not here, not anywhere on Earth. A perfect sphere, approximately 20 meters in diameter, buried beneath 2 kilometers of ice and ancient rock. "Natural formations don't make perfect spheres," Sarah murmured, manipulating the hologram with practiced gestures. The structure's outer shell appeared to be composed of an unknown alloy, its molecular structure more complex than anything in their database. "No, they don't." Marcus adjusted his thick-rimmed glasses, a habit he'd maintained even after getting corrective surgery. "And they definitely don't emit quantum-encrypted signals that just happen to match mathematical constants found throughout the universe." Sarah felt a familiar thrill run through her body, the same sensation she'd experienced when she'd first detected the signal 3 months ago. As Earth's leading xenorchaeologist, she'd investigated dozens of potential alien artifacts over the past decade. Most had turned out to be natural phenomena or misidentified human technology. But this was different. "What's the estimated age?" she asked, though she already suspected the answer. Marcus's dark eyes met hers. "Preliminary dating puts it at roughly 50,000 years old." "But, Commander," he hesitated, fingers dancing across his tablet. "The energy signature it's emitting. It's getting stronger. Whatever's down there, it's not just a relic. It's active." Sarah straightened, making a decision. "Get me a secure line to command." "And Marcus, not a word of this to anyone else." "Not yet." Within an hour, the excavation site had transformed into a hive of activity. Additional security teams had been deployed, and specialized drilling equipment was being assembled under the watchful eyes of armed guards. Sarah stood at the command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing various aspects of the operation. "The sphere appears to have some kind of protective field around it," Dr. Yuki Tanaka, their quantum physicist, explained to the assembled team leaders. "It's not exactly a force field as we understand them, but rather a localized distortion in space-time itself. Our conventional drilling equipment won't be able to penetrate it." "Then what do you suggest?" Colonel James Harrison, the military liaison, asked gruffly. His weathered face showed the strain of maintaining security for an operation that grew more complex by the hour. Yuki's eyes lit up with scientific enthusiasm. "We've detected quantum resonance patterns in the field. If we can match those patterns with precisely calibrated energy pulses, we might be able to communicate with whatever control system is maintaining the barrier." Sarah nodded, "Like finding the right key for a lock." "Exactly," Yuki exclaimed. "Commander, I believe your theoretical work on alien communication protocols might be particularly relevant here." Sarah had spent years developing methods for decoding potential alien signals based on universal mathematical and physical constants. It was work that had earned her both acclaim and ridicule in the scientific community. Now, standing on the verge of vindication, she felt a sudden weight of responsibility settle onto her shoulders. "Begin the resonance mapping," she ordered. "But maintain containment protocols. If this thing has been waiting for 50,000 years, it can wait a few more hours while we do this right." As the team dispersed to their stations, Sarah found herself drawn back to the ice wall where she'd first felt the vibrations. The signal was clear now, pulsing with a rhythm that seemed almost alive. Hours stretched into days as they worked to decode the quantum barrier. Sarah barely slept, spending countless hours analyzing data patterns and adjusting their approach. On the fourth day, at 3:47 hours, everything changed. "Commander," Marcus's voice jolted her from a brief rest. "The barrier, it's responding to our latest sequence." Sarah rushed to the excavation site, arriving just in time to witness a sight that would forever change human history. The quantum barrier was shifting, its invisible field becoming visible as ripples of iridescent energy in the air. The perfect sphere beneath began to glow with an inner light, casting ethereal patterns across the ice cavern. "Life signs detected." Yuki's voice was filled with wonder. "Something's in there, and it's waking up." The sphere's surface began to shift, sections rotating and realigning like an impossibly complex puzzle box. As the final pieces clicked into place, a seam appeared, and with a soft hiss of ancient machinery, it began to open. Sarah stepped forward, her heart pounding. Security teams moved into position behind her, weapons ready but lowered. The sphere's upper hemisphere lifted away in a spiral pattern, revealing a chamber bathed in soft, blue-white light. Inside, suspended in a field of shimmering energy, floated a humanoid figure. Its form was elegant, almost crystalline, with skin that seemed to catch and reflect light like opals. As Sarah watched, breathless, the being's eyes opened, revealing irises that swirled with galaxies. The alien's gaze fixed on Sarah, and in that moment, she felt a presence brush against her mind. Not invasive, but questioning, curious. Then, to everyone's astonishment, it spoke, not in sound, but in thoughts that somehow translated themselves into words in their minds. The signal was received. The key was found. The mental voice carried both ancient wisdom and profound relief. "I am Kalis, last guardian of the Lyrian Defense Network, and humanity has proven itself ready, just as we hoped you would." Sarah stepped closer, her training warring with her wonder. Ready for what? The answer came with a weight that seemed to press against everyone's consciousness. Ready to help us save the galaxy from what comes in the void between stars. The Harbingers return, and this time, we need humanity's unique gifts to stop them. As if to emphasize the gravity of these words, the entire cavern trembled, ice crystals tinkling like wind chimes. The first contact with an alien species had just become something far more significant. The beginning of humanity's greatest challenge. Above them, unnoticed in the moment of first contact, the aurora borealis danced across the Arctic sky with unprecedented intensity, as if the very heavens were acknowledging the magnitude of what had just transpired beneath the ice. Humanity's next chapter was about to begin, and Sarah Chen stood at its threshold, ready to lead Earth into an age of wonders and perils beyond imagination. Awakening the Ancient. The secure medical facility beneath Geneva's CERN complex hummed with activity as Sarah Chen watched Kalis move through a series of fluid motions that seemed to defy gravity. The Lyrian's crystalline form caught the light, sending prismatic patterns dancing across the reinforced walls. 3 weeks had passed since their discovery in the Arctic, and each day brought new revelations about their alien visitor. "Your species is remarkable," Kalis communicated, her thoughts manifesting in Sarah's mind with increasing clarity. "You've developed so differently from what we predicted, yet exactly as we hoped." Sarah crossed her arms, leaning against the observation window. "You keep saying that, but you still haven't explained why humanity is so crucial to your plans." The Lyrian paused her movements, turning to face Sarah with those galaxy-filled eyes. "Because you dream, Commander Chen. You imagine. You defy logic when logic fails you." A hint of amusement colored her mental voice. "Most importantly, you're stubborn beyond all rational explanation." Before Sarah could respond, Dr. Rivera burst into the observation room, his tablet clutched tightly in his hands. "Commander, you need to see this." He pulled up a holographic display showing a series of astronomical readings. "We've detected anomalies in the Kuiper belt, objects moving against the orbital plane, leaving gravitational distortions in their wake." Kalis moved to join them, her crystalline form passing effortlessly through the supposedly secure barrier between rooms. The security team tensed but held their positions. They'd learned to accept such displays of advanced technology. "They're earlier than expected," Kalis observed, her mental voice carrying an edge of concern. "The Void Harbingers send their scouts ahead of the main force. Small vessels, almost organic in nature, designed to test defensive capabilities and gather intelligence." Sarah studied the data, her mind racing. How long? 3 months, perhaps 4, before the first wave arrives. Kalis's form shimmed with anxiety. "We must activate the other outposts. Earth was never meant to stand alone. It's part of a network, a web of defensive positions established across this sector of the galaxy. And you need humans to do it." Marcus asked, adjusting his glasses. "Why not your own people?" A wave of sorrow emanated from Kalis. "Because we failed. The Lyrians, my people, we relied too heavily on logic, on predictable patterns. When the Harbingers first came, we couldn't adapt quickly enough to their chaos, their endless mutations. We built the defense network, yes, but we couldn't operate it effectively." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine as understanding dawned. "That's why you chose Earth. You didn't just leave that sphere for us to find. You were testing us. The quantum barrier, the resonance patterns." "Yes." Kalis's mental voice carried pride. "Where other species might have tried to force their way through, you sought to understand. Where others would have seen only a barrier, you recognized a lock requiring the right key. You combined logic with intuition, force with finesse." The conversation was interrupted by a priority alert from the facility's security system. Colonel Harrison's gruff voice came through the comm. "Commander, we've got a situation. 3 unidentified vessels just breached our solar system's outer defense network. They're moving fast, using some kind of gravity manipulation for propulsion." Sarah straightened, years of military training taking over. "Location: they'll reach Mars orbit in approximately 6 hours. But that's not the worst part." Harrison's voice tightened. "We're detecting quantum signatures similar to what we found in the Arctic. They're homing in on something." "The archive," Kalis whispered, her form pulsing with urgent light. "There's another installation on Mars, Commander. One far larger than what you found on Earth. If the Harbinger scouts reach it first." "They won't," Sarah declared, already moving toward the door. "Colonel, I need the Helios prepped for launch in 30 minutes. Full crew, combat ready." The Helios was humanity's most advanced spacecraft, a prototype vessel combining conventional propulsion with experimental quantum drive technology. It wasn't fully tested for deep space operations, but they were out of options. As Sarah strode through the facility's corridors, Kalis glided beside her, matching her pace. "Commander, the Mars installation contains more than just weapons or technology. It holds the genetic memory of my entire species, the accumulated knowledge of a civilization that spanned galaxies. If the Harbingers access that information—" "They won't," Sarah repeated firmly. She paused, turning to face the alien being who had become both ally and friend. "But we're doing this together. Your knowledge, our adaptability. It's time to see what this partnership can really do." Within the hour, the Helios broke through Earth's atmosphere, its quantum-enhanced engines pushing the boundaries of known physics. The crew of 30 consisted of Earth's finest, scientists, soldiers, and specialists chosen for their ability to think creatively under pressure. In the ship's command center, Sarah studied the tactical display as Mars grew larger on their main viewer. Kalis had interfaced with the ship's systems, her crystalline form seeming to merge with the technology around her. The fusion of human and Lyrian technology had already yielded remarkable results, pushing the Helios's capabilities far beyond its original specifications. "Multiple contacts," Lieutenant Pottle reported from the tactical station. "The unknown vessels are accelerating. They'll beat us to Mars by at least 20 minutes. Sarah felt Kalis's concern ripple through the ship's neural interface. The Lyrian's presence had become a constant hum in the back of her mind, a bridge between 2 vastly different ways of thinking. "Show me the Mars installation's location," Sarah commanded. A detailed map of the Martian surface appeared, highlighting a massive underground complex near Olympus Mons. "Those ships will need time to breach the facility's defenses. Time we can use." "Commander," Marcus called from his science station, excitement evident in his voice. "I've been analyzing the Harbinger vessel's propulsion signature. They're creating localized gravity wells for acceleration. But there's a pattern to it, a vulnerability." Sarah smiled grimly. This was exactly why humanity had been chosen. The ability to find patterns in chaos and exploit them. "Send the data to Tactical. Kalis, can you help us modify our quantum weapons to target those gravity wells?" The Lyrian's response came through both the neural interface and ship's speakers. "Already done, Commander. Your weapons will now create counter-resonance fields. When they impact the Harbinger ship's gravity wells, they'll tear themselves apart." Sarah finished. "Lieutenant Patel, prepare firing solutions. We're not letting them reach that archive." As the Helios rocketed toward Mars, Sarah felt the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. Humanity's first real space battle would be fought not for territory or resources, but for the preservation of knowledge that could save the galaxy. And standing beside her was living proof that different species, different ways of thinking, could come together to face a common threat. The red planet loomed before them, and in its orbit, 3 dark shapes moved with predatory grace. Sarah Chen, commander of Earth's first line of defense, gave the order that would change the course of human history forever. Battle stations. The hidden archive. The Helios shuddered as another gravity wave rippled past them, the ship's quantum-enhanced shields barely holding against the distorted space. Through the neural interface, Sarah felt Kalis's presence steadying the ship's systems, compensating for fluctuations that would have torn a normal vessel apart. "Target locked on the lead vessel," Lieutenant Patil announced, her fingers dancing across the tactical controls. "Counter-resonance field charged to maximum capacity." Sarah leaned forward in her command chair, watching the 3 Harbinger scouts maneuver with impossible grace. Fire. The Helios's main weapon array lit up, launching a concentrated burst of quantum energy. The lead Harbinger vessel attempted to dodge, but Marcus's calculations proved perfect. The counter-resonance field collided with its gravity well, creating a cascade of destructive interference. Space itself seemed to twist and tear around the alien ship before it imploded with silent violence. "One down," Sarah muttered, but her satisfaction was short-lived. The remaining 2 vessels split up, adopting an attack pattern that seemed to defy conventional physics. Their hulls rippled and shifted, organic-looking protrusions emerging to fire streams of dark energy. "Evasive maneuvers," Sarah commanded as Kalis's warning screamed through the neural link. The Helios rolled and dove, narrowly avoiding the dark energy streams that left trails of frozen time in their wake. "Fascinating," Marcus called from his science station, somehow maintaining his academic enthusiasm even in combat. "They're not just manipulating gravity, they're weaponizing temporal distortions. If we could adapt our shields to..." "Less theory, more solutions, Doctor," Colonel Harrison barked from his tactical advisory position. Through the neural interface, Sarah felt Kalis processing the sensor data at impossible speeds. "The Harbingers adapt quickly," the Lyrian communicated. "They're already analyzing our counter-resonance technology, developing countermeasures. We need to reach the archive before they completely neutralize our advantage." Sarah nodded grimly. "Lieutenant Patel, target the Martian atmosphere directly below the nearest vessel. Maximum dispersion pattern." Understanding flickered across the tactical officer's face. The Helios's weapons lashed out again, not at the Harbinger vessel itself, but at the thin Martian atmosphere beneath it. The quantum burst superheated the gases, creating a rapidly expanding plasma cloud that disrupted the ship's carefully maintained gravity field. The alien vessel tumbled, its organic hull writhing in distress. "Now," Sarah commanded. A second shot, precisely calibrated, caught the destabilized vessel in its moment of vulnerability. The Harbinger scout didn't implode like its companion. Instead, it seemed to age thousands of years in seconds, its hull crumbling to ancient dust. But the third vessel had used the distraction to dive toward the Martian surface, accelerating at speeds that would have pulverized any human craft. It was heading directly for Olympus Mons. "They're going to reach the archive first," Marcus warned, his instruments tracking the Harbinger's descent. "No," Sarah countered, a plan forming in her mind. "They're going to show us the way in." Helm matched their descent trajectory. "Kalis, I need you to prepare for something incredibly reckless." The Lyrian's amusement rippled through the neural link. "You humans do excel at reckless strategies." The Helios plunged into the Martian atmosphere, its quantum shields glowing cherry red. The Harbinger vessel ahead of them was carving a path straight toward a seemingly ordinary section of the massive volcano's base. As they watched, a hidden entrance revealed itself, an ancient doorway large enough to admit vessels far bigger than either of their ships. "The Archive's defensive systems are still active," Kalis reported, her consciousness spread through the ship's sensors. "They recognize the Harbinger as a threat, but they'll need time to power up after 50,000 years of dormancy." "Time will give them," Sarah decided. "All power to forward shields. We're going to give our friend ahead of us a little push." The Helios's engines screamed as they accelerated, catching up to the Harbinger vessel just as it approached the archive's entrance. At the last possible moment, Sarah ordered full power to the ship's quantum ram, an experimental device designed to clear asteroid fields. The enhanced gravitational pulse caught the alien vessel from behind, sending it tumbling into the Archive's defensive grid. Ancient energy weapons awakened, their golden beams lancing out to dissect the Harbinger scout with surgical precision. The alien vessel's dying scream echoed through the neural interface, a sound of rage and frustrated purpose. "Kalis, now," Sarah commanded. The Lyrian consciousness surged through the ship's systems, broadcasting identification codes older than human civilization. The Archive's defenses paused just long enough for the Helios to slip through, landing hard on an enormous docking platform deep within the mountain. As emergency teams rushed to secure the ship and assess damage, Sarah led a mixed team of soldiers and scientists into the archive proper. The facility was vast, its crystalline corridors stretching for kilometers in every direction. Kalis manifested beside them, her form more solid here, drawing power from her ancestors' technology. "This way," she guided them, leading the team deeper into the complex. "The central repository contains more than just our scientific knowledge. It holds the truth about why we chose humanity, why we knew you would be essential for what's coming." The central chamber took Sarah's breath away. It was a perfect sphere, like the one they'd found in the Arctic, but enormous, at least a kilometer in diameter. The walls were covered in flowing patterns of light, data streams containing the accumulated knowledge of a civilization that had once spanned galaxies. "Look," Marcus breathed, pointing to a holographic display that had activated at their presence. It showed Earth, but not as it existed now. The display tracked backward through time, showing various stages of human evolution and development. "We watched," Kalis explained, her mental voice filled with wonder. "We watched your species grow, adapt, survive against impossible odds. Where other species sought harmony with their environment, you learned to change it. Where others developed along predictable lines, you constantly broke patterns, defied expectations." The hologram shifted to show the Void Harbingers, massive entities that existed partially in normal space and partially in something else, something that hurt the human mind to contemplate. "They are coming," Kalis continued, "not just to destroy, but to impose order. They seek to eliminate chaos from the universe, to make everything predictable, controllable. They are the ultimate expression of entropy, the end of all possibility. And that's why you chose us," Sarah realized. "Because we're unpredictable. Because we create chaos as often as we create order." "Yes," Kalis confirmed. "But more than that. Your greatest strength is not your chaos. It's your ability to forge meaning from it, to find patterns in randomness, to create structure from disorder, yet never become bound by that structure. You are the perfect bridge between order and chaos. The chamber hummed with power as more systems came online. Through the neural interface, Sarah felt the archive awakening fully, its ancient machines preparing for the war to come. But there was something else, a deeper truth still hidden in the data streams. Kalis, she asked, watching the Lyrian's crystalline form pulse with increasing urgency, what aren't you telling us? The alien's galaxy-filled eyes met hers. The harbingers we fought today were scouts, yes, but they were also tests. They weren't just gathering data on our defenses, they were measuring humanity's potential. And now they know what we know. Which is? That humanity isn't just capable of fighting them, Kalis revealed. You might be capable of something far more dangerous, changing them. Your capacity for adaptation, for transformation, it's contagious. Your ideas, your dreams, your ability to imagine different futures, these things can infect even the harbingers themselves, and that terrifies them more than any weapon we could devise. Unity's edge. The United Nations General Assembly buzzed with tension as Sarah Chen took the podium. 3 days had passed since their return from Mars, and the weight of what they'd discovered pressed down on her like a physical force. Through the neural interface, she felt Kalis's steady presence, watching from a secure chamber below the building. Distinguished representatives, Sarah began, her voice carrying across the hushed chamber. What I'm about to share will fundamentally change our understanding of humanity's place in the universe. She gestured, and holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber, showing footage from their battle at Mars. Gasps and murmurs filled the room as the delegates watched the Harbinger vessels moving with impossible grace, witnessed their transformation of space itself into a weapon. But it was the next set of images that truly captured their attention. The vast Lyrian archive, proof of an advanced civilization that had been watching and waiting for humanity to reach this moment. The threat we face is imminent and existential, Sarah continued. But we have advantages our enemies don't expect. The Lyrian archive doesn't just contain weapons or technological specifications. It contains a blueprint for survival, one that requires all of humanity working together in ways we never have before. And we're simply expected to trust these aliens. The Russian delegate's voice cut through the chamber. For all we know, this could be an elaborate deception. Sarah had expected this reaction. That's why I've asked my colleague to join us directly. She touched the neural interface at the base of her skull, a piece of technology that now merged human innovation with Lyrian crystalline computing. Kalis, if you would. The Lyrian's form materialized in the center of the chamber, her crystalline body casting prismatic light across the assembled delegates. But instead of causing panic, her appearance drew fascinated silence. Through their shared neural connection, Sarah felt Kalis carefully modulating her presence, projecting not just images but emotions, hope, determination, and a deep respect for humanity's potential. My people watched yours for 50,000 years. Kalis's thoughts reached every mind in the chamber. We saw you rise from caves to build cities that touch the sky. We witnessed your wars, your triumphs, your endless capacity for both destruction and creation. But most importantly, we saw something no other species has ever demonstrated: the ability to change, fundamentally and repeatedly, without losing your essential nature. The Chinese delegate stood, her face thoughtful. These harbingers, they seek to eliminate chaos from the universe, to make everything predictable. But chaos is essential for growth, for innovation. Precisely, Sarah confirmed. That's why we're their greatest threat, not just because we can fight them, but because we represent everything they're trying to eliminate from the universe: creativity, adaptability, the capacity for genuine change. Over the next several hours, Sarah and Kalis laid out their proposal. The Lyrian archive had provided designs for planetary defense systems that could be integrated with existing human technology. But more importantly, it had revealed how human consciousness could interface with Lyrian systems in ways the original builders never imagined. The neural interface I'm wearing isn't just a communication device, Sarah explained. It's proof that human minds can adapt to and improve upon Lyrian technology. Our scientists have already begun developing modifications that the original builders never conceived of. Dr. Rivera stepped forward, displaying data from their latest experiments. The human brain's neuroplasticity allows us to form connections that should be impossible. We're not just using the Lyrian technology. We're evolving it, changing it just by interacting with it. The Brazilian delegate leaned forward. And you need all of us? Every nation? Yes, Sarah said firmly. The defense network requires a minimum of 36 interface points spread across the planet. Each must be staffed by teams of humans working in concert with Lyrian systems. But more than that, we need humanity's full creative and industrial capacity focused on preparing for what's coming. As if to emphasize her point, alarm signals suddenly blared throughout the chamber. Colonel Harrison's voice came through Sarah's comm. Commander, we're detecting multiple quantum disturbances in the Oort cloud. Early warning systems suggest at least 30 Harbinger vessels, larger than anything we've encountered so far. The chamber erupted in concerned voices, but Sarah raised her hand for silence. This is what we've been preparing for. The question isn't whether we fight. It's whether we fight together or die separately. Through the neural interface, she felt Kalas's approval as the Lyrian addressed the assembly. My people faced the Harbingers alone, believing our superior technology would save us. We were wrong. You humans have something far more valuable than advanced technology. You have diversity, of thought, of approach, of culture. Each of your nations brings a unique perspective, a different way of solving problems. The Japanese delegate stood. How long do we have? The main Harbinger fleet will reach Earth in approximately 2 weeks, Sarah answered. But their advance forces will arrive sooner. We need to begin implementing the defense network immediately. What followed was the most remarkable display of international cooperation in human history. Ancient rivalries were set aside as nations pooled their resources and expertise. The Lyrian archive had provided the framework, but it was human ingenuity that began transforming those ancient designs into something new. In secure facilities across the globe, volunteers began training with neural interfaces, learning to merge their consciousness with Lyrian systems. Each person brought their own unique perspective, their own way of thinking, creating variations in how the technology responded and evolved. Sarah stood in the new Global Defense Command Center beneath Geneva, watching as reports came in from around the world. Through her neural interface, she could feel the growing network of human minds connected to Lyrian technology, each adding their own unique signature to the whole. It's beautiful, Kalis observed, manifesting beside her. The way your people transform everything they touch. The Harbingers seek to impose unity through conformity. But you humans, you create unity through diversity. Will it be enough? Sarah asked, watching as another cluster of Harbinger signals appeared on the long-range sensors. That's not the right question, Kalis replied, her crystalline form pulsing with quiet confidence. The question is, what will humanity become in the process of proving that it's enough? As if in answer, the neural network hummed with increased activity. Across the planet, humans from every nation and background were connecting, sharing ideas, finding new ways to merge their technology with Lyrian systems. They weren't just preparing for war. They were evolving, individually and collectively, into something that had never existed before. The Harbingers were coming to impose their version of order on the galaxy, but they were about to encounter a humanity that had learned to harness both chaos and order, a species that could adapt and change while remaining fundamentally itself. The real question wasn't whether humanity would survive. It was what the Harbingers would become after encountering a force that could transform even them. When stars align, the void between Mars and Earth erupted with quantum distortions as the main Harbinger fleet emerged from their faster-than-light travel. Their vessels were massive, each one a city-sized amalgamation of geometric perfection and unsettling organic movement. Through the neural network, Sarah Chen felt the collective intake of breath from thousands of linked human minds as they witnessed the true scale of what they faced. 53 capital ships, Colonel Harrison reported from his station in the Geneva Command Center, plus over 200 support vessels. They're arranging themselves in a perfect tetrahedral formation. Of course they are, Sarah muttered. Even their battle formations have to be mathematically perfect. She stood at the center of the command sphere, surrounded by holographic displays showing real-time data from the Global Defense Network. Through her enhanced neural interface, she could feel Kalas's presence spread throughout the system, coordinating with interface teams across the planet. Their perfection is their weakness, Kalas reminded her. They cannot comprehend strategies that don't follow logical patterns. That's why the next part must come from you, Commander. From all of you. Sarah nodded, touching the neural interface at her neck. All teams, commence Operation Chaos Theory. Across the globe, 36 interface points hummed to life. In each location, teams of humans merged their consciousness with Lyrian technology, but not in the orderly, prescribed way the systems were designed for. Instead, they began improvising, creating variations and combinations that should have been impossible. The Harbinger fleet's first wave of attacks came exactly as predicted. Precision strikes aimed at defensive installations, following optimal attack patterns developed through countless simulations, but humanity's response defied all their calculations. In India, a team of classical musicians had discovered that treating the defense grid like a massive instrument produced harmonics that disrupted Harbinger sensor systems. From Brazil, a group of chaos mathematics professors introduced random variables into the quantum shields that made them virtually impossible to target. Australian Aboriginal Dreamtime concepts, incorporated into the neural interface protocols, created defense patterns that seemed to exist in multiple realities simultaneously. "They're responding," Marcus called out, his fingers dancing across his console. "The Harbinger fleet is attempting to adjust their attack algorithms." Sarah felt it through the neural network, the enemy's growing confusion as they encountered defense systems that operated on principles they couldn't quantify. But she also felt something else, something Kalas had predicted. The first hints of change within the Harbinger consciousness itself. "Now," she commanded, "launch the quantum inversions." The Helios led a fleet of hybrid vessels, each combining human ingenuity with Lyrian technology. They struck at the Harbinger fleet not with conventional weapons, but with devices that forced quantum uncertainty into their perfectly ordered systems. Where the enemy sought mathematical precision, they encountered wave functions that refused to collapse into definite states. "Commander," Lieutenant Patel's voice was urgent. "The largest Harbinger vessel. It's changing configuration, but not like before. This is different." Through the neural network, Sarah felt what was happening. The quantum inversions weren't just disrupting the Harbinger systems. They were introducing the concept of true choice into their rigidly deterministic minds. The ability to imagine multiple possibilities, to conceive of alternatives to perfect order, was spreading through their fleet like a virus. "They're trying to adapt," Kalas observed, her crystalline form pulsing with excitement. "But not by becoming more ordered. They're discovering chaos. Your human capacity for transformation is infecting them, just as we hoped." The massive Harbinger vessel's surface rippled, its perfect geometric patterns dissolving into flowing, organic shapes. Others began to follow, their formations breaking down as individual ships started moving in unpredictable patterns. "They're experiencing free will for the first time," Sarah realized. "Their collective consciousness is fragmenting into individual awareness." But not all of the Harbingers embraced this change. A significant portion of their fleet recoiled from the transformation, their ships clustering together in even more rigid formations. The unity of their invasion force shattered as ship turned against ship, order battling chaos in a representation of the fundamental forces they embodied. All teams, Sarah broadcasted through the neural network, focused the quantum inversions on the unchanged vessels. Let the transformed ones discover their own path. What followed was unlike any battle in human history. The transformed Harbinger ships, moving with a newfound creativity, began engaging their former companions. They fought not with perfect precision, but with improvisation and unpredictability that their unchanged brethren couldn't counter. Through it all, humanity's neural network continued to evolve. The interface teams weren't just controlling the defense systems, they were learning from both sides of the conflict, incorporating new patterns and possibilities into their understanding of reality itself. Hours stretched into days as the battle raged across the solar system. But gradually, inevitably, the balance tipped. The unchanged Harbinger ships, unable to adapt to the cascade of chaos and possibility, began to retreat. The transformed vessels didn't pursue, instead forming a protective screen around Earth alongside the human Lyrian fleet. In the aftermath, as the last of the unchanged Harbinger ships vanished into quantum space, Sarah stood with Kalis in the Geneva Command Center, watching the transformed vessels approach Earth in a beautiful, random dance. "They want to learn from us," Kalis communicated, her thoughts filled with wonder. "Not to destroy or control, but to understand. To explore the balance between chaos and order that humanity has mastered." Sarah smiled, feeling the neural network pulse with possibilities. "Then we'll learn together. Human, Lyrian, and transformed Harbinger. Imagine what we could become." "That's exactly what makes your species so remarkable," Kalis observed. "You already are imagining it. Thousands of different possibilities, each one shaped by individual hopes and dreams, yet all connected through the network you've created." Above them, the first of the transformed Harbinger vessels entered Earth's atmosphere, their surfaces reflecting sunlight and patterns that had never existed before. They were no longer perfect geometric shapes, but neither were they completely chaotic. Instead, they had become something new, a harmony of order and chaos, much like the species that had changed them. Through the neural network, Sarah felt the excitement and apprehension of billions of humans as they witnessed this moment. They had faced extinction and emerged not just survived, but fundamentally changed. The network that had been created for defense now hummed with potential for exploration, discovery, and growth. "So," Sarah asked, watching as more transformed vessels descended, each one unique, each one a testament to the power of change, "what do we do next?" Kellis's crystalline form sparkled with amusement. "That, Commander, is exactly the kind of chaotic, unlimited thinking that saved the galaxy. The question isn't what we do next. It's what can't we do next." As if in response, the neural network blazed with countless possibilities, each one a potential future waiting to be explored. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and discovered its greatest gift, the ability to change others simply by being themselves. The stars had aligned not for an ending, but for a beginning, and the story of what they would become was still waiting to be written.